Good morning, guys. So, after putting on my trailer, I basically had to commit myself to really do this and to start this channel. So I thought that it would be a good thing for a first video after the trailer to learn a little bit about me and to just tell you a little bit what I do and where I come from. I didn't grow up in a traditional circus family at all. I come from a very academic family. Both of my parents have their doctor titles, and I basically followed the path until I was 19. And when I was 19, I started to do circus. So until 19, I didn't do any circus, actually. So to tell you a little bit, I was always a super hyperactive kid, and I was always climbing on trees and running around, and I was never sitting still. So when I was 5, my mother decided to put me into a gymnastics team to just drain a little bit of my energy because I had too much energy. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that when I was 7, I kind of skipped a year and I went to a more professional gymnastics team. And yeah, I was training already at that age 4 to 5 times a week for 2 to 3 hours. It was pretty intense, but I loved it. I really loved it. It's the only thing I like to do. And so I stick with it. And then when I was around 11, 12, something changed in my mind, and I think a lot of kids go through that, is that suddenly I became scared of things. Suddenly I realized how dangerous the things were I was actually doing. And I had to stop. It was a pretty fast stop, pretty immediate, but like I took it down a little bit, less training until the other kids got a lot better than I was, of course, and then I decided to stop because it was too scary. And luckily in my little town I grew up, there was another club which was called the Aerobic Gymnastics Club. It's a sport that is pretty new still. Like, it comes from the Jane Fonda aerobic, and it's basically what old women do to stay in shape. But this is a new sport that developed like around 20 years ago, I would say. And it's now getting more and more popular, and there's world championships and everything. So I decided to do that. And when I was 11, I think I did my first competition. So that was a pretty flowy transition from gymnastics to aerobic gymnastics. And aerobic gymnastics really is more, it's just on the floor, there's nothing in the air. And it's more like a dance. You can also compare it to a cheerleader. I will try to put in some videos so that you can see what I did. It's a little bit embarrassing because it's a little bit special. Like, you're wearing kind of suits, but then you're wearing shoes. It's something a little bit strange there, but that's kind of their style. They wanted to differentiate themselves from traditional gymnastics, like the real artistic gymnastics, or rhythmic gymnastics. So it's like a third type of gymnastics, aerobic gymnastics. In Germany, this sport was very, like, not big at all, and there were basically just 2 or 3 cities that had like a major point where they had a real team. And luckily in the city I grew up, there was like a point like that, and I had a trainer. She was super dedicated. She was a great trainer. And yeah, I started doing that. There's yeah, I have to say also there's different categories. So there's single, and there's mixed pair with a guy, or trio, or a team of 6. And I'll show some videos so that you can see, because otherwise it's really hard to understand what I mean. And we were actually really successful, and we came into the German national team when we were around 14, 15, and we went into international championships around the world. I went to Italy, I went to lots of places. It was really fun, and we had a super great team together. Also, our team out of 6, we went to the world championships, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was really great, but yeah, when I was 18, 19, I was kind of over it, because it was at the end always the same thing. You prepare a new competition, you're better than someone else, or you're not as good, and you kind of keep doing the circle, but there was no real artistic part of it. It's not that you do perform your routine and someone is like maybe inspired to do something else. Maybe they are, but it's not the same thing as in circus, and that's I'll come to that later. But that was the main reason why I could stop the sports I was actually really attached to, and I was doing it for 8-9 years consistently. Also, I mean, we were training every day. Like in the major times, we were training 5 times a week, 2 to 3 hours. It was really, and that next to school or what we were doing in the meantime. So it was really like you go to school in the morning and then you go train in the afternoon. That was basically my whole childhood, and I loved it. I had tons of friends there, and it was great. It was like I would never change it. I would totally do that again. So why is this all important? This is all important because circus was always my dream. It was always like my childhood dream. but it was never really fulfilled, because as I said before, my family doesn't come from a traditional circus family, and they basically told me, sorry Lea, but you can't do it. We don't have the skills to teach you anything, and you will never be in the circus. So the biggest moment I really wanted to be in the circus was when I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old, and we were in Madrid. We were invited to see Cirque du Soleil, Saltimbanco, and there's in the beginning, there's this number, or there was in the old Saltimbanco, this number with the guy and his partner, his wife or his girlfriend, and their child that was basically the same age as I was, and they were doing this hand-to-hand number, the three of them. And the child was a little boy, but because his suit was so like a one suit, it wasn't really seeable if it was a boy or a girl. And for me, I totally fell in love with that number, and I fell in love with that boy, and I basically projected myself into that role. I really wanted to be, and it was like, in that moment, it was so clear to me, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be there. So from then on, I really remember that well. Every time I had like a little, you know, like the eyelashes, and you can blow them and make a wish. Every single time I wished for being in the circus, and that was from 5 years old until I basically was in the circus. Like, it was really my dream. And it was like a super lucky surprise, or lucky coincidence, or if you want to call it coincidence, maybe it was meant to be. But when I was 15, my mother discovered the National Circus School in Montreal. We were there for 6 months. We were living in Montreal because my dad was working there. And she saw the posters, and she saw the school, and she checked on the homepage, and she saw that there was this kids program for kids in the summer for 2 weeks, and you could basically have to send in pictures of yourself, and they would accept around 30 kids, and then you could basically train in that professional school with the professional teachers for 2 weeks. And it was like a summer camp. It was also fun and games and all that stuff. So I applied my stuff, not knowing anything about the school at all, and I got accepted, which also was really great for me, because not everybody, like, they send in maybe 200 kids or 150 kids, and they take 30. So it's really like, also to get in, it's not that hard, not that easy. And I was there, and the minute I stepped foot into that school, I knew I wanted to be in the school. It was just, it was mind-blowing, but it was really what I wanted. So I was there for 2 weeks, and you could like choose what you wanted to learn, and I mainly wanted to learn hand balancing, and I did also a little bit of juggling already when I taught myself, like by myself, like a kid. And it was great. It was 2 weeks. It was amazing. And from then on, I just wanted to come back next year. So then for the next 3 years, because I did that 4 times, my like Christmas present and birthday present together, and money I made on the side was all meant to go into going back to that summer camp, because I mean, it was in Canada, so you had to fly to Canada, and it wasn't that inexpensive either. So I did that for 4 years, and I met a lot of people already who did circus, and I got really into that world. And it was, every time it was more and more clear that I really wanted to be in that school. And that school offers a high school program, and it offers a college program. And it was clear that the high school program was not something for me, because my mother really wanted me to finish my school degree in Germany, which I think is a good choice. So I'd have a solid education, and like a normal education, and if ever I wanted to change, I could still study something else. And once I'd finished that, I applied for that school, and I got accepted, which was a wonder for me, because I didn't have that much experience. Really, like the number I performed there was like a self-taught handstand number that had some skills, had a little bit of maybe potential, what you could say, but like compared to what the other kids were showing, it was really not so good. So I applied, and I got in, and that was basically the moment where I could do circus, where it was clear that my life would be about circus. That was when I was 19 years old. That was 5 years ago now. 5 years ago, wow, it's already, yeah, that was 5 years. So 5 years ago, I decided, and it was really clear, that I would do circus for the rest of my life. So that's my little story. Another thing I really wanted to tell you is that for everybody out there who wants to learn, who wants to be in the circus as well, because I get that question all the time, like, when is it too old to be in the circus and all that stuff. I started when I was 19. Of course, which is not, you can't forget that. I was doing gymnastics and aerobic gymnastics and a lot of other things before that. So I was always in a good physical shape. I was always really strong and flexible, and I had prepared to that. But really the circus I've never done that before I was 19 years old. So if you're out there and you're like at home and you're watching YouTube videos of other people doing some cool numbers and tricks and all that skills, you can really still learn it. And I have a friend of mine who started when he was 23. I don't think there's any age limit to start. You just have to have dedication and you really have to want it. So leave a little comment and tell me what your circus story is, and talk to you soon, guys.